For the past couple chapters, we've been talking a bit about memory management, and specifically we've been talking about this mechanism that Apple uses called reference counting. In this chapter, we'll talk about a new feature in iOS that fundamentally changes the way we write iOS apps. Apple introduced this amazing new feature called ARC, and ARC stands for Automatic Reference Counting. The keyword here is automatic. Our application will still use reference counting to manage memory, but now we can delegate all of those memory management details off to the compiler. This is really a huge win. For new developers, not having to explicitly deal with memory management is just one less thing to wrap your head around. But even experienced developers greatly benefit, as it's one less thing to take away your focus from the core functionality you're trying to build. So how do we take advantage of it? Well, if we're starting a new project, it's trivially easy. I'll go up to the File menu and select File, New, Project. In all of our iOS templates, we have the ability to specify to use automatic reference counting when we're setting up the project. At the bottom, you'll see this checkbox that says Use Automatic Reference Counting. Simply selecting that is all we need to do to properly configure the project to take advantage of ARC. So very easy to do. I'll hit Cancel. But what about existing projects? So we've been writing this application over the past few chapters, and we could manually convert this over to ARC, but there's an easier way to do that. If you go up to the Edit menu and select Refactor, you'll see this refactoring called Convert to Objective-C ARC. This will ask us what targets we want to convert. We only have a single target in our project, so we'll simply select that. And we'll hit Check. This will run a little pre-flight check to find out if there's anything that we have to manually go and migrate. If not, it will just automatically move on to this next step. It didn't find any code that requires us to manually migrate, so instead it will take us to the next step and says we're ready to convert over to automatic reference counting. So what's going to happen is the LLVM compiler is going to go and analyze our source code, make whatever necessary changes, and then at the end of this process will give us the opportunity to see specifically what it's going to change. So I'll click Next. This will go through this analysis process. And this will show us what changes are going to be made. On the right is our existing code. So if we look at our album class, we can see it's going to remove this explicit release. If I scroll down to the bottom, there's this dealloc method that happens when our reference count gets down to 0 and this object instance is about ready to go away. We can see we no longer have a need for it at all, so completely removed it in our new version. If we look at the artist code, in our convenience initializer, our auto-release statement is going to go away. Scroll down in this, and the explicit release that we had in setName will go away. And just like we had in the album class, our dealloc method in the artist class can go away in its entirety. Take a look at main.m. Now you've heard me mention this class called NSAutoReleasePool a few times, but this is the first time we're actually seeing this code. Previously, there was this class called NSAutoReleasePool, and we'd create an instance of it, and at the end of some cycle, then we would drain it. So anything that had been added to the auto-release pool by calling that auto-release method would get added and then drained when this drain call got executed. This is now changed to this new language level feature called @AutoReleasePool. And this is just a more convenient way of creating auto-release pools in iOS apps. Inside this auto-release pool, here's where we created our main app where we've been writing our code. Calls this run method, and then finally calls its release method. We can see that the release method is now gone away in our new version. And finally, if we switch over and look at our main app.m, we didn't have a lot of memory management code remaining in this class, but we can see that our two explicit release statements are now gone. I'll go ahead and hit save. Xcode's got the ability to take point-in-time snapshots of our code, so anytime we're making significant changes to our project, Xcode can take a snapshot so we can get back to that if we need to. In this case, I'm going to skip that and just say disable. So there it's made all of the changes it needed to. I'll hit Command B, and let's just run the app one more time, make sure everything's still working. That looks good. Let's also run the profiler one more time, and specifically we'll run that leaks tool. So select Profile, and let's just make sure that we're still not leaking any memory. So select Leaks, select Profile, switch over to the Leaks tool, and it just ran its first snapshot, didn't find any leaks. I'll run an explicit snapshot by hitting Snapshot Now, and it didn't find any leaks, so that looks great. Close this down. ARC is a truly welcome addition to the platform. Manual reference counting wasn't too hard to deal with once you get used to it, but would inevitably be the source of some problems at some point in time. Arc allows you to simply focus your attention on your application and not on the low-level memory management details. For new project development, using Arc is really a no-brainer, and we'll be using it for the remainder of this course. For more details about Arc, I'd highly recommend checking out the WWDC 2011 session video entitled Introducing Automatic Reference Counting, and this is available from the iOS Dev Center.